Hey, you guys, and welcome back to Out the Dark. You already know who we are. We are your hosts. I'm LaCrystal.
I'm Tiana.
And today we have a very, very, very special guest, Miss
Thank you.
Mattie.
Thank y'all for having me.
We're so glad to have you. Um, when we first discussed what this episode looks like, I heard God say that Miss Mattie has to be on it. Um, so this episode we're going to talk about faith and trust. You know, we said we were stepping into the light, and in order to do that, you have to have faith and
Yes.
trust in God. And so, Miss Mattie, you are the perfect candidate of what it means to have um, unwavering faith in God.
Well, thank you, Crystal.
Hmm
Thank you.
So I'm excited about this episode.
All right, now let's get excited. I'm excited about these questions you're gonna ask me.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I started off. So, Miss Maddie, what does it mean for you to have unwavering faith? Like, what does that look like for you?
Unwavering faith for me is when you're back up against the wall, you don't have nobody else to trust but God. That's my unwavering faith.
Yeah.
That you know that can't nobody do it but Him.
hmm
So that's who you put your faith in. Yeah.
So, have it ever been like a time or a season? Of course, you know, we know your story, but if you
hmm
can just elaborate, I guess, and give your testimony of, I guess, when you had to fully rely on God.
Which time?
Ooh, give us, it don't matter, whatever you feel led to speak about.
Well, I don't want to get emotional. I get emotional when I talk about stuff like this. But the first time when I had to really depend on God is when I lost my child.
Mm.
Oh, wish she would have been, I'm trying to see, she would have been 35, 36 this year. But she died when she was 9 years old. That's when I really had to put my trust in God. See, I always knew it was a higher power, but far as going to church, being a church girl, that wasn't me. That wasn't my life. I wasn't brought up in church. My parents weren't brought up in church. So I just had to figure some stuff out on my own. I'm gonna put it to you like that. And when I figured it out on my own, I think it saved my life along with my other kids' life.
Mm. Ooh, that's
If
deep.
that make any sense to you.
Yeah.
Because when she passed, I didn't have time to mourn because I had little kids. I had her brother and sister asking them, "Where is Jaleesa? Why she ain't here? When she's coming home?" Now you can tell your children that their sibling is in heaven, but they don't really know what that means. They still want to know where she is and why she's not at home. And I think that what really got me through because I didn't have time to sit in my not so
Oh.
much grief, so much in my feelings.
Mm.
Most people will either have a breakdown or either say, why it had to happen to me? Why my child? Why this? Why that? I didn't have time to do that. I didn't have time to do that because I had other ones I needed to help raise and bring up. So from that point on, I had to trust God in every way. And He have kept me since then.
Mm. Woo.
hmm
And you said that's the first time.
Yeah. See, you thought it was the breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Tia, you probably know about the breast cancer. But it
hmm
wasn't that. The first time is when I lost my child. Because I didn't know which way to sway with this or go with this. But I had to put my trust in something. And I only had God to put my trust into.
So if I could, Miss Maddie, expound upon that first. My first question is to bring clarity and context. If you are okay with, what age were you at that time, And I heard you say your other kids were asking, you know, about their sibling. So what age were the other siblings? I heard you say she was 9, but what age were the other two?
Okay, I have a son, Jarvis. Jarvis and Jaleesa. Jaleesa is the one that passed, and she was 9 when she passed. So at that time, Jarvis would have been 8 because they were step. They was like 15 months apart. Then I have Jackie. She's 2 years after Jarvis. Then is Jawanda, and she's 2 years after Jackie.
Wow. And
Mm-hmm.
so even when I hear that, then it makes me think, and hearing the questions that were asked,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me think, did anybody have time to grieve
Uh,
or process?
we didn't
Yeah.
even have time to process. That's where I feel we didn't really have time to process. And to this day, my son would not go to a funeral. And I don't care who it is, he won't go. So I don't know if her death had anything to do with it, but it
Do y'all
just,
talk about it?
we, not really, not really, not really. Not as much as we should, but we don't. We don't. Because I think they was real closer than any other,
Mm-hmm. The
any
other
other.
smaller ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. I'm lost for words, honestly.
Yeah.
That
That's heavy. You just dropped the bomb. But you know, you told me that one time when we were working at the daycare.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just going, I was riding home and I was praying and praying. And I'm like, God, how can something like that happen to, I love you, Miss Man. I'm like, Miss Man, like,
Thank
what's
you.
going on?
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, because y'all know Miss Scent story. So immediately I was just like, I heard him say, I have placed other daughters
Around.
around.
That's
Remember I was
true.
telling you
That's
that?
true.
And
You
I
were
was
placed.
like, that brought so much comfort, that God will, yes, it don't to replace what you've lost, but he also brings like a comfort of us knowing that I have given you other daughters and things like that to kind of nurture.
Pick her back off
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
Yes.
because I mean,
Yes.
in the church we call you Mama Maddie. You know what I'm
And they
saying? Your
do call
mama.
me that,
Yes,
Tiana. They
yes.
tell everybody that. Then the new folks be calling me that, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but so when it comes to trusting God, I know you said that you didn't have time to get in your feelings. So what did you do outside of just taking care of the children? Like it sounds like you kind of suppressed a lot,
I
and
did.
the children
I
suppressed a
did.
lot.
That's why I get so emotional when I talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't talk about it that much. But we talk about Jaleesa, but they don't remember much of
Yeah.
her because they so young. I mean, Jawanda was a baby. She really definitely don't remember anything for real. I think the Yeah, because I don't think any one of them had problems with it but Jarvis because they was the closest. But yeah, we suppressed a lot. I think we should have went to counseling and talked about it, but I I wasn't aware of stuff as that because I was like, what? I had her when I was 18. So uh, I'm 27 with a child that passed, and then I have other children. So yeah, it's a hard thing to deal with.
I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. But my first thought is going back to when you were saying, you know, you weren't raised in the church. You know, your family really wasn't going to church. So where in that time frame is it that you start feeling this stirring in your spirit to call out to God? Like how did that connection come into
I think I
place?
did that when we was in the hospital looking at her body. when they pronounced her. And you know, when you go back and see the person, uh, I think that what really broke me at that point. Because sometimes you have to just see it for yourself to know that it's real. So when I just seen her body laying there, I knew it was real. So that was my cry out. And I've been crying out ever since, Tiana.
Wow.
So come
Wow.
out with
And that, ooh, and that just makes me think. You said you had her at 18. At 27, she passed away, correct?
Hmm. At my
And
27. She,
at your 27. So that she passed away when you were 27. And I'm about to turn 27 in 2 weeks. And I'm just sitting here imagining, like, to even be able to put language around, keep going, I couldn't imagine.
yeah, it was a lot of crying out after that, Tiana. A lot.
And when you say crying out, what does that mean to you? Because, that can mean one
To
thing
me,
to somebody, but what is crying?
to me, it meant my relationship with God. See, I couldn't cry in front of them, so I
yeah.
had to wait till they go to sleep or whatever. When I go to bed in the late midnight hours, as they might say, that's when I had to cry out to God.
And in those moments when you cried out, what did you feel?
I felt His presence. I mean, I felt a presence, and I take it as it was Him, but that hold on, daughter, I have you, I have you.
Mm. Like him saying it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And oh God, that makes me think of when we were just at the Woman Evolve conference. And, she talked about surrendering, and you first have to grieve, you believe, because I heard you say at the beginning that you feel like you didn't really get to grieve, and feel, but it sounds like in the moments when you were able to get in his presence, you were grieving and healing. And the other part of that was Sarah talking about believing. So in those moments where you were able to cultivate this space for his presence to come,
Mm-hmm.
what did that look like when it came to continuing to believe and move forward?
Hmm. What did it look like? Well, it looked like it was. I had to make it. I had to make it no matter what. I couldn't just give up on life. Even if I wanted to, I just couldn't do it. You see your babies, any mother, you just can't give up on life. You had to push your feelings to the side and move on.
Whew, my God.
That takes
Because
strength.
we give up our life. When we have children, we give up our life. It's not about us no more.
That's true.
It's not about us. And I learn every day that it's not about me. That's
Yeah.
why I said it's about God. It's not about me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind us asking, like, if you want to share, like, how did she pass? Like, what happened?
Uh, misdiagnosed.
Mm.
Um, she had the chicken pox, and he had noticed her leg was starting to swell up real bad, and she was at the point she didn't want to walk on her legs. She said she couldn't walk on it. She couldn't walk on it no more. She said it hurted her so bad. So we took her to the emergency room. Her daddy had to pick up and carry her in there. Um, we was there like 5 or 6 hours. They sent us back home with some Tylenol, saying that she would get better. It was just a swelling. Um, they was more concerned with the chicken pox than what was causing the swelling in her knee. And come to find out that she had an infection in her knee. That's why it was swelling so bad. And by the time they got the blood work back, my baby was gone, dead and gone.
From the infection, like sepsis setting.
It had just, they said it just ate her body up. It just went
spread.
just like that.
Now I heard you chuckle, so I want to talk about also forgiveness. Because what did that look like when you said misdiagnosed and she could have been saved? How did you process that, or are you still processing?
I processed it, but once you have to forgive yourself because you figure that you did something wrong, that you didn't take her in time, or you didn't. So much comes to your mind when you're thinking like that. But when they find out that it wasn't your fault, she was there. She was there to get help, but they ignored the signs and the warnings. So, uh, forgiveness, yeah, you have to forgive and move on and let God handle that. But that's where your faith and your trust have to come in at. Even though I might not even see what might happen on the other end behind that, but I'm still trusting in God. But you have to forgive and not forget, just forgive and move on. So it just don't eat me up every day about it. But yeah, forgiveness is a must.
And so your process, what you said, that happened also when you late at night talking to God, seeking God. He helped you with the forgiveness of yourself and the doctors, the misdiagnosis, other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Forgiveness is a must. And you have to realize we are all just humans. People make mistakes, but it shouldn't cost nobody their life. But I had to put all of it in God's hands.
Yeah.
God strengthen you through that from Lord.
Okay. So let's now that didn't happen. Your daughter, you didn't process this. You feel like you're on this new right track. Of course, the pain never go away.
That's true.
But you've learned how to manage it and to cope with it and deal with it. Then you say that was the first time you had to trust God. And then what was the second, like, big one?
In 2016, it was September 2016, I had a lump on my breast. Okay. I found a lump on my breast and I went to the doctor, got a mammogram and all of that. They sent me to get a biopsy. So when I went and got the biopsy, they took a piece from my breast, ran the test on it. The doctor called me back to the office and he told me that I had breast cancer. That's what they led to from there.
So what was like your immediate reaction to yourself? Like, okay, I've been through this, God, this one thing. What did you feel in that moment?
When he told me that, I took my daughter with me for support. But I think I shouldn't have did that. Because when he said that, she bust out and said, God, why? I prayed. Why my mama? Why she had to have cancer? And at that moment, I had to step back into my faith. I said, Wanda, this breast cancer is not going to kill me. I said, I can walk out and get hit by a car and kill me, but this is not going to kill me. And Chris, I never wavered in when I was going through with that. I always trusted God with that one. And I listened to people tell their story, how sick they was and this, that, and the other. And I never had any discomfort. Chris, that's when I came to the church, joined the church, me and Miss Sant. Because we was looking for a church home before that. Then we was invited, one invited us to come to the church when we was on First Avenue North. And when I came to the church, and she was trying to tell Pastor everything that was going on, but Pastor couldn't see it for himself. He said, "You got what now?" Just like that. And we was talking and carrying on. And he said he prayed and he talked to God about it. And he didn't know which way to go with it because he didn't see the destruction. You know, when folks say you have cancer, they think that's a death sentence for you, automatic. But the whole time I was doing chemo, I was still coming to church. We were having Bible study. Pastor had me at the back door, ushering people in. Haven't even joined church yet, Tiana. Haven't even joined the church yet.
That's how
he had us ushering at the back door.
That's how he do.
But yeah, through that whole time, I was still going through chemo, radiation, still coming to church on Wednesday night Bible study, coming to church on Sunday. I never did feel sick. I didn't feel sick like a lot of people I heard get a testimony about cancer. So I said, okay, God, I got you. We're going to go through this together. And that's how I tell you, my faith will never waver with something when it concerns me. When I know it's out of my hand, I know God got me. So I don't worry about it because it is what it's going to be. But I still prayed and I still asked for strength for my family because they didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know how to shift from, because they didn't have let me see how I want to say it. They didn't have the spiritual background like I am right now in my life with God. They just looked at me and see how I was going to take it. And if I took it fine, they was going to take it fine. You know? And by that did me good, Chris. That did me good.
That's like
Your testimony.
that is a powerful testimony. But that's just like you. We see like a pattern here. You stood strong for your kids at 1st. This time we see it again. Like you said, you couldn't let your faith waver. Not just because you're strong in your faith, but because you knew if they seen you at your lowest, they would have been at their lowest.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
when we talk about this unwavering faith and trusting God, you say you couldn't do it. Let your faith take the back seat. Um, what? How do I want to ask it? It's kind of like you said. Your daughter Wanda, she broke down. She was hysterical. This is stage 4 cancer.
Stage 4.
And I have seen you at that back door. Never knew nothing about no cancer. I just thought you was natural because you still had your hair. I just thought you was natural with your blowout. But when I talk about like resiliency and you just stand, I don't even know how to, like you said, Tiana, it's hard to find language to it because it's like you are so rooted in God. And do you feel like you're rooted in Him, like that situation with your daughter? Do you feel like it kind of helped you in a certain, like in some type of way with the cancer? Like your faith, do you feel like it kind of kept you kind of anchored down with God, or did you
Yes.
question God and be like, God, why me? Even after it was over?
No, no.
No.
I didn't question God, why me? I questioned God, why not me? I mean, because it runs in my family. I have sisters that passed with it.
Mm,
Uh, it ain't like I'm the first one that had it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I'm saying like, why not me? But it's still at a point is I didn't believe that. You
Mm,
know, and I had a doctor. She never said you was gonna die, this and the other. She never was negative. She was always up and positive. And still to this day, when I go get a checkup, I'm going once a year now. But you know, after you diagnosed, you go every 3 months. Then after that, every 6 months. Then after a year. Last time I went, she said, "Why you keep coming to me?" Because I said, "Cause you're my doctor. You're supposed to keep a watch on me." She said, "You got it. You fine."
mm,
I said, "But I'm still gonna keep checking on you every year. I'm still gonna keep checking on you." But I think it more of amazed her too that I never let the cancer take over me.
that's good.
I never surrendered to the cancer.
Hmm.
I was diagnosed, but I didn't claim it. I never claimed it. But it was a diagnosis. It was on my chart. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't give it life. I didn't speak life to it into it all the time.
Right.
But it is what it was. But, Crystal, that's not the first thing I went through. But, you know, it seemed like that's the only one they got a death sentence on. Is the
Mm,
cancer.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I like that you said you didn't give it life. So
Mm-hmm.
many times we allow our circumstances and our situations
Mm-hmm.
to overtake us to where we get
Mm-hmm.
our faith become fall on shaky ground. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that you also said that you still go back for your checkup regardless of what the doctor said. Yes, you know you are healed, but at the same time, faith without works is dead.
That's right.
So you have to apply the two. Yes, I'm going to go work. My works
Work.
is I'm going to check
Check
myself
myself.
out because just in case I need to be equipped, I need to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so, stay ready so you don't have to get
That's
ready.
right. That's
And
right.
then it's like, but I'm leaning on my faith. I'm not claiming this. It's on my chart. This is what y'all say I have,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have this. I'm not claiming it. And I think
That's
that
true.
we as believers, we allow the battle to consume us when really and truly the fire is only there to just purify our faith,
Mm-hmm.
take us to new levels. And man, you so strong to go through something so life altering twice. Not one time, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine at, like you said, T 27, walking that walk, losing one of my children, but you having to be strong for the children that you have that still remain. And
Yes.
you allowed that to be your fuel. Like you said, you didn't cry in front of them. They see you. You showed up as strong mom. That's all they know you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and you talk to God in your private time. You break down. And that just goes back to like something that I think Cheryl Brady said. She was like, you, in order to be an evolved woman, you have to have been a went through something.
I done went through something.
And really and truly, your testimony, you are an evolved woman. Like your faith is so strong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And that makes me think too, like a lot of times when we go through stuff, we get upset that we're having to go through stuff versus just surrendering to whatever we're having to go through so that our faith can be built, so that we are able to grow, mature, and all of these things. Because it's like, if I don't even want to say bad things, but if circumstances never happen, how do we grow stronger and deeper in our faith and mature and grow? Because also through that, it's proven that God is faithful, but also it proves that we are faithful because we're continuing to surrender to God and to His will. And God, whatever you see out of this, I trust you, and not running from God, but staying rooted. So it's like, when we're in the good phase of life, yeah, that's good, but also even in the circumstances of life, that's even better. almost it's almost like polar opposite. Like in the circumstance of things, that's the most when we grow, we mature. And like Sarah said, it's growth in disguise because, in the moment it's so painful and it hurts, but we also don't see the way in which we are growing and being strengthened as well.
Yeah, that's true. So, Miss Maddie, what advice would you give somebody who's watching? I guess if they're going through something, like what would you say to them to like stay rooted in their faith?
First, you got to believe, and you got to know what you believing in. Because I think that's why some people waver back and forth in their mind, because they're not grounded in God for real.
Mm.
They grounded in a concept of God, but not really God. Because when I tell you the God I believe in, He can do anything He wants to do through me, to me, around me, and I still trust Him. I still trust Him.
That's good.
That's good. And and even to that extent, oh my God, all of this is just bringing me back to the conference because even that's kind of what Sarah also touched on in regards to Martha when Lazarus passed, and God wants to strengthen us in our belief. Like, can you believe me on another level? Can you believe something about God that you have never had to believe before? And it's when circumstances happen that we have to believe, okay, I've never seen him as a healer, but God, through this, I will see that you are a healer. And and that's the very thing that the enemy tries to do. He comes for our belief. So we have to stay rooted and grounded in his word and telling ourselves what his word says so that we can stay rooted and planted in him and not be wavered to and fro, because that's what the enemy wants. He wants us to question, God, are you really who you say you are? And that's when we have to remind ourselves his word is true, and so that's what I have to believe.
That's right.
That's good. She
That's
did
so
say
true.
that. She did say that
That's true.
about Martha. And he
Mm-hmm.
allowed her the opportunity. And I feel like so many of us Christians have a facade, a mask on, to where it's like we're hurting in private, but then we get out there in front of the people and it's like we're pretending versus us saying, oh, I'm good, I'm this, but you really don't believe that deep down. You really don't believe it because, like you said, Miss Maddie, you don't know him as you only know him on a surface level when it really requires you to know him for real, for real. And like you said, T, you have to go through something in order to believe on another level.
Yes.
And that's really how you get from glory to glory to glory.
To
It's
glory,
not
to
always
glory,
just everything gonna be peaches and cream. That's not how life works. Paul said the race is not given to the swift, but to the one who endures. You have to endure something in order to get to your finish line.
That's
And
correct.
if we as Christians would take off the mask and be real and say, God, help me. When they say I believe, but help me with my unbelief, we could really, really get to this next level
Next
in God.
level.
So where we can be rooted in our faith so much so, like you said, whatever your will is, God, why not me? Why not me?
Yeah.
Why didn't you choose me to go through this? Like, okay.
But the devil is real sneaky with that. Because Tiana, I'm telling you, Krista know the rest of the story, but I kept getting hit in my health after that. It was one thing after another. First it was my heart. That it wasn't pumping right. So I had to go get a defibrillator put in. Then I was diagnosed with
With that.
diabetes. That's when I was in a diabetic coma when my child found me and couldn't wake me up. And when I got to the emergency room, the doctor said a little while longer you wouldn't have made it. He said when I got there, my sugar level was 1,800. It's something he said he never seen before in his life. Never, ever. It was so bad, Tiana, that these lights right here, I couldn't even stand for them to be on. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't see anything. That's how bad it had got. But I trust in God. It had reversed my vision to another level that I had to go get another prescription for my eyes. But when it finally came down in society, everything turned back around. So this defibrillator that they put in, it really shocked me. It shocked me literally and brought me back to life when I was laying there unconscious. Now tell me that's not God.
Ooh.
So that's why I trust him. That's why I trust him in everything I go through.
And that makes me think about Abraham, whenever he had to go and the Lord told him to go and sacrifice Isaac. But in certain translations it says, it begins that passage of scripture by saying, after these things. So God had already laid a foundation for his faith, so that way when he got to the point in his life where God told him to sacrifice, he did it with no question, because the foundation had been laid. So we never know how God is trying to lay the foundation to grow us and build us. And even in you saying, like, how after the breast cancer, everything was just kind of coming back to back. But when I as I was hearing you say that, the word that just kept coming to me was endurance. Like God was building your endurance.
Yes.
And so we just never know how God is wanting to build us. And I think a lot of times we don't, how do I say it? We're so focused on like the blessing and what I'm gonna get, what I'm gonna receive, that we don't think about our development. Like just for life in
In
general.
general.
God is trying to develop us for life.
Mm-hmm.
Because life, and it life's hard.
Yes, it does.
Like the step of water is hard. So to build us in our faith and to prepare us for these things, he has to start somewhere to build our endurance, so that way we can be able to sustain and withhold.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's
Yes.
so good.
Yes.
Whew. And so, like you said, he pretty much allowed the heart situation to happen because he knew that the diabetic situation was going to happen,
Coming
and
down
you
the road.
needed that defibrillator to restart your heart. Come on here, God, how he allowed what the enemy, everything gonna work together for your good. To those who trust
Trust
and
him.
believe
Trust
him.
him
You
and
gotta
believe him.
believe and trust in
That's why I
God.
say you got to believe him. You got to.
Mm. Whew, this has blessed me. This has truly blessed me. And
And that's why, the Bible says, rejoice
Yes.
in trials. When we go through things, rejoice. Now, this done blessed me too, child.
we
Whew.
rejoicing with you.
Yes.
With all this faith that you have over here going
Yes.
on.
You better have it. You better have it.
And you know what else? Like listening to Miss Mattie, because when she talked about her blood sugar being at 1800, the doctor being surprised that she still made it, and how with the doctor with the breast cancer, even in those moments, we never know how God is using our circumstances to also build somebody else's faith.
That's true. That's true.
You know.
So true.
Let your test be a testimony.
That's your testimony. Yes,
Testimony.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you are living a
Powerful.
walking testimony.
I do believe so.
I do too.
And how much God trusted you. Whew, my God.
Look at God. Look at God. Yes.
Whew. This I think this is my favorite episode of the season. So I think so. Any last words, you guys?
Well, for me, it's just build your faith up. Build your faith. If you believe in the God that saved, that died on the cross, believe in him. Just believe in him. Don't let nobody sway you back and forth, talk you out of anything.
or your situation.
Of your situation.
Yeah.
Yes. Trust God.
Well, Crystal, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway would be to like I guess kind of like what Sarah said, what the theme of the conference was. You gotta really truly surrender, regardless of if you know the outcome, if you don't know the outcome. I pull away from Ms. Mattie's story to tie into that as with I trust, like, stay rooted in God through the unseen or the seen. Know where your faith lies. Like you said, sometimes you can't rely on something that he's done, you know what I'm saying, in the past, because we're trying to get from glory to glory. So it may not be, I got to rely on what you did for me last season. No, but even though I still trust you, regardless of the fact, and kind of like what Job said, though you slay me, yet will I trust in you. So it's like, I'm going to trust you, I'm going to have faith in you, regardless of the outcome, because like you said, if Jesus had to suffer, but
That's
something
right.
he didn't do, who am I not to have to go through something?
That's right.
And I
Right.
think for me, my perception has changed since just even this last Woman Evolve. I've been more in tune with allowing myself to surrender, because I'm the type of person, I gotta know every little thing. I gotta know the details. I'm like, God, I don't know about that because you ain't showed me, you ain't told me the next step. But I feel like in this season, I'm literally, I don't want to say walking blind, because when I was praying the other day, I felt like my feet wasn't even on the floor. So it's like I feel as if I'm suspended in the air, being led.
That's
And so
good,
I
Chris.
just gotta just allow him to lead me.
That's good.
But your story just like inspired me to just continue to keep the blindfolds on, and wherever he take them off and I'm at, I'm cool with it.
That's good.
That's powerful.
What about you?
A lot. I took. But most importantly, I think is to, like you said, it just relates to the conference, but believe in God on another level.
Yeah.
Um, and wherever you are in life and wherever your faith is, God wants you to go deeper.
Yeah.
Um, and it may take a circumstance to happen in order for that to happen.
Ooh, that's true, Tiana.
Man.
You said a mouthful that time.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah. And in the moment, because the Bible talks about how, discipline is painful, but afterwards comes the joy and all these other things. So yeah, this has really encouraged me
Yeah.
and given us endurance to be able to sustain and make it
Yes.
and not faint.
Yes.
Yes.
And not faint. That's the key. Well, you guys, this was good. This was so good. And I made it this episode without crying. And I'm proud of myself. Because people that know me know I'm going to cry. So I made it. And I'm proud of myself for that. And so, Miss Maddie, thank you so much again
Yeah.
for
You're so
being
welcome.
so vulnerable
You're so welcome.
to share your testimony, your story.
Thank y'all for having me.
You just inspired us, and I'm sure everybody who will watch it. So, as usual, guys, we love y'all, and we shall see y'all next week. Bye.
See ya.